Let's dive into this letter a little bit more, guys. Jim, I know you were just talking about it with Andrew, Joe, and Becky. He talks about, obviously, where he sees macro going, but there's a lot more in there on the nature of remote work and the risks to banks, which he says are coming from every angle.
There's an amazing moment. Actually, there's two moments where Jamie just talks about, using his first name as if he's sure, I know, I hope he doesn't mind. Jamie talks directly about the challenges. And who are the challenges? Well, it's Facebook that he mentions. He mentions Alphabet, well, Google. It talks about Apple. He says then Walmart. And one of the things that's amazing about this is he just says, look, he's not talking about PayPal and Square, which I would have, but he basically says these guys have such an edge over us. We are so heavily regulated. They can do whatever they want. And what's interesting is they haven't done it yet. I mean, I'm still waiting for the Facebook bank and the Alphabet bank, but he's obviously preparing for it. But he does say, look, we can't do a lot of the things that you want us to do because we're not allowed to. And it was, I don't think it was a plea necessarily for less regulation for him. It's like, don't we want to regulate those guys too? They're out there in the room. It was a great moment because he's thought about what the future looks like. And these are all cloud-based companies, which he understands have just such an edge over him. So, the only one that doesn't have an edge on him, David, is Netflix. He didn't talk about Netflix, but he's a real FANG specialist.
No, listen, the theme of him being scared, so to speak, of fintech is, not one lost in our viewers. You can go back to earlier this year. I think it was on that earnings conference call, wasn't it, Jim, where he talked specifically, as I recall, about Plaid. Remember, of course, one's going to be acquired by Visa. Very happy that deal actually got opposed by the DOJ because the valuation of the company is more than doubled from the value that Visa was going to pay to buy it. So this is not, and again, we're going to get back to sort of Dimon's comments about the general economy. But you're right. He's been pushing on this for a while, clearly trying to communicate in some fashion that they would like to be freed up to be able to compete more aggressively in this area.
Well, look, I mean, it's one of those things where if you're trying to figure out stocks, it's the most poignant stock moment because what it says is basically you should be willing to pay a lot more for those companies because those companies have the edge. It's interesting to see that Walmart was included, obviously, a brick and mortar company like the one he has. Carl, there are so many moments in the letter where he talks about what could really hurt our country is inequality. I know we're focused on the boom of 2023, but I think he's focused on the fact that unless we get some real equality in this country, we could be doomed to be a second-class country the way China currently views us. There's a lot of discussion about China and whether they believe that we really are second-rate, which they do, and whether we can change and not be second-rate. He even goes to the point of, look, we have to go back not to the Constitution, but to the Federalist Papers to understand what it means to have equality in our country. Carl, was a rather remarkable note. This is a banker, and the banker names, I'd say, 5 or 6 things that his clients really want. And what the 17,000 lobbyists want. It's every one of the things, Carl, that you would just define as being Gordon Gekko. Then, of course, people are saying, oh, well, look, he makes $31 million. OK, he delivered. And in corporate America, if you deliver, you do get paid. But, Carl, I just think he kind of lays it out that just says we're done if we do not make this country equal, including 2 references to George Floyd's murder. Not to what happened to George Floyd, but horrific murder on the eve of what I imagine will be Judgment Day.
You're talking about a verdict in Minneapolis? Is that what you mean, Jim?
Yeah, but Jamie's already declared the verdict. And twice, this was really a plea to hold people accountable as they give and try to figure out how to make the poor equal. And he doesn't mince terms. It's black and Latino. It is such a fresh air because he's talking about tax breaks for golf courses and horse racing and private jets, and he doesn't like them. He doesn't want them. Well, as a private client of J.P. Morgan, I read that and I say, well, he's against my interests, but he's saying don't be selfish. I'm with him. David, I'm with him when he says that maybe, I know this is going to hurt, that salt is something that is selfish.
Yeah, well,
it's selfish.
It may be, but it may also result in people continuing to leave New York and other high-tax states as a result of their inability to be able to deduct their state and local income taxes, which just keep going up. And by the way, it doesn't mean that Mr. Dimon won't conceivably move jobs to lower-cost places, will it, or lower tax jurisdictions, if it means that it'll be better overall for the bank.
Look, there's no doubt at the first part of the letter, don't want to mince, is about how great the shareholders do. How great the people who work there do. So yes, I mean, I think that some people could very easily say this is a man filled with contradictions. He says one thing and then he urges another. I think he's wrestling, Carl. He's wrestling with the idea. I mean, literally, look, this is an existential letter, and I'm not kidding. And he's wrestling with the idea that he wants to do what's best for his shareholders, which is not necessarily what's best for the country. And the last 20 pages are about the country. If you go with that, his company makes less money. He makes less money. Anyone who makes a lot of money makes less money. And the poor are able to pull up by their bootstraps with the help of the government and big business. Carl, it is antithetical to what a banker typically wants, certainly what a Republican would want. And I would even go so far as to say even what the president wants. It's that, I don't want to call it left wing. I want to just say, if you take him on face value, he is saying this country must change. And we all have to do our part. And doing our part, Carl, makes, for people like me, a lot less money. And look, like I said, it's existential. And I just think that he's made a lot of points that may be soul search. I know that sounds weird, Carl. It's a bank letter. But it's the most soul-searching thing I've seen from a business person. I don't know. Woo.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.